Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on what time of the day you are tuning in to the Parman Easterday newsletter and finding yourself with the opportunity to share a few minutes with me here. I just wanted to reach out and talk a little bit about what's going on, what our firm is doing. And it occurred to me that a quote by Thomas Paine certainly seemed apropos. So I believe it was December 23rd, 1776, when he published one of his famous works called The Crisis, that Thomas Paine said, "These are times that try men's souls." And certainly what's occurring now in the world would fall into that category. And what I found interesting about the comment was not only its application to what's happening today in all of our lives, but the sentence that followed up that statement. He said, and if I might look down and read, "The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from service of their country." Now, we're not talking about shrinking from service from our country, but it does raise the question, what are our obligations and what are smart ways to go about approaching this in today's world? And I just want to leave you with this future picture. And then I'll come back and tie it all together. We're doing everything that we can in our law firm, Parman Easterday, to be sure that when this ends, however it may end and however it may exhaust itself, or when the treatments are finally in and the vaccinations applied, we will be standing. We're doing everything in our power at Parman Easterday to ensure that that occurs so that we can take care of you, take care of our clients the way that you expect us to and the way you've come to expect after working with us for, in some cases, 30 years. So I'm Larry Parman, the founder of Parman Easterday. And again, thank you for joining. And just a few thoughts. I'd like to acknowledge each and every one of you on this email list. And thank you for being good friends. Thank you for being good clients, great friends, great clients in virtually every case. It's been our pleasure to serve you. We've been through challenges before. This firm was formed through the inspiration of a tragedy to my father. It was formed at a time when many Oklahomans were going through personal tragedies of their own. In the midst of the oil boom and bust in the mid-1980s, and for the 10 years that followed, it was heavy lifting, and many of you remembered that. So we've been through these periods of anxiety. We've been through these periods of fear. When uncertainty explodes upon us, as this did not creep upon us, this exploded upon us, it's normal to have those feelings. That's when that amygdala hijack, the reptilian part of the brain, kicks in, the one that sits there at the base of our brain, on top of our spinal cord. That kicks in. We resort to either fighting or fleeing. So it's a very normal feeling to be in this position of feeling how we do about what's occurring in the marketplace. So I think we should acknowledge that and just understand that that's real. But on the other hand, I want to offer a couple of thoughts about that. I think what we need to do is we need to keep the right mindset about that. Our performance and our behaviors are coded back to and embedded in how the world is occurring to us, how situations are occurring to us. That informs what actions we take. And a lot of times the actions we take and how the world is occurring to us is based on the language that we either use or we hear. And I think it has to be said that some of the language that we're hearing in the media and from some of our friends is somewhat frightening, because people are scared. And the media is not going to sell you subscriptions or viewing with great news. you're going to hear a lot of bad news. You're going to hear a lot of frightening news. And there is such a delicate balance, one that I struggle with, and I'm sure one you struggle with, on where to come down on the line between wanting to be sure we do everything we can to protect the health of ourselves and our loved ones, and yet on the other, as an employer and as a business person, knowing what we have to do to stay in business and stay alive and keep these jobs open, keep people employed, and keep the consumer part of our economy rolling. Consumption makes up about 75% of our economy. So when people withdraw, when people back off, you're going to see the natural outcome of that. And that's going to be a rise in the jobless rate. That's going to be layoffs. That's going to appear as frustration. It's going to appear, in some cases on television, as mortal combat between and among our political leaders. And so how do we find some balance? How do we find some certainty? How do we find what we used to say on the farm, plumb bob center? You know, when that little piece of a level, you know, reaches the center point, how do you know we're there, and how can we get there? So I would just say to you this, you know, even though our law firm is treated as a, quote, essential, close quote, business, we still have our challenges. So here's what we're doing. First of all, we're doing everything we can to protect our employees and our clients. And we're talking about individual responsibility. I don't want any victims here. I mean, people need to step up and do the right thing. And that means being smart about the decisions you make and about the behaviors you engage in. We all know them. Wash your hands thoroughly. Keep spacing between people. Don't go to large crowds. Probably not a good time to go to Florida and get on the beach with a bunch of young people and get in your swimming suit and start hugging and loving on people. Not a smart move. I'm not sure we can be smarter than the virus, but we can be smart about what we do and the actions we take. You know, we're doing all we can, both individually, to take care of ourselves and be smart about this and stay ahead of it. We are all working from home. We've been equipped to work from home for a long time. So from a technology point of view, we are very well equipped, and we're still continuing to take phone calls. We are having meetings using Zoom. We're calling them either Zoom calls or Zoom video calls. And so you'll be learning more about that as we'll be inviting you to those, and I encourage you to use those with us. So to the greatest extent possible, we're continuing to move forward and conduct business in somewhat of in the ordinary course, I guess you might say, of how we normally do things. I've reached out to a couple of state senators and the governor asking them for emergency legislation concerning how documents get notarized and how they get witnessed. I don't know what'll happen or if it's too late to get it done in this legislative session, but we'll keep you posted on that. It could be that at some point in time we're able to complete all of our work electronically and remotely, and that would be a big advantage for all of us. So we'll keep you posted on that. One other thing we're doing on the financial services side through our registered investment advisory firm, Parman Financial Advisors, is working very closely with people about keeping perspective, the importance of having a balanced portfolio, the importance of not panicking, how markets typically come back, the power of the capitalistic system to recover and to rebuild and to replenish our accounts. It's a little bit frightening right now, as I said before, but if you hang in there, maintain some discipline, let us work with you, call us if you have any questions. We'll get through this just fine and we'll come out the other side stronger. So I'm going to close down and just say this. Here's what we know. All of our experience tells us that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. We've all been through difficult times in our lives. We'll make it through this. We'll hold hands. We'll put our arms around one another, even though we're not supposed to right now. But metaphorically, we will join hands, put our arms around one another. We'll be strong as a unit, and we'll get through this. And as we do, and when we do, we look forward to visiting with you more. prayers are with you and Godspeed with you. But again, I want to say, hang in there. Hang in there. Keep your perspective. Take care of yourself. Be safe. It's a little tough being closed up at home for a while, but there are all kinds of new opportunities that emerge when we do that with family members and so forth. So appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being great supporters of us, and we look forward to working with you and continuing to visit from time to time. Larry Parman, signing out. Have a stunning day. Thank you.